You're listening to AI PRISM from Seoul Economic Daily.
It's Wednesday, May 27th. Here's why global investors are paying attention to Korea today. The KOSPI closed at 8,047 on May 26th, the first ever close above 8,000, up 2.55% on the session. Total market capitalization reached 6,581 trillion won, roughly 4.4 trillion US dollars. A milestone by any measure. But the number that matters more than the index level is this. Foreign investors have been net sellers for 13 consecutive sessions since the KOSPI crossed 7,000. Total net selling over that stretch: 46.5 trillion won, approximately 31 billion US dollars. The rally is being driven by domestic ETF inflows. Korea's total ETF net asset value has crossed 484 trillion won, about $322 billion, and ETF flows, not foreign institutional conviction, are what's holding this market up. Seoul Economic Daily surveyed 5 brokerage research directors on the day of the 8,000 close. Their consensus: the level is not a bubble, earnings justify it. LS Securities raised its KOSPI upper band to 10,000 the same day. Yuanta's research director said that if war risk eases, inflation cools, and the Fed turns dovish, the upper band could extend to 11,600. Two conditions must be met for 10,000. First, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix earnings estimates must continue to be revised upward. These two names represent roughly a third of index weight. Second, non-semiconductor sectors must confirm operating profit improvement of 45% or more year-on-year when Q2 results arrive in mid-June. Dacian Securities calculates that a re-rating to just 10 times forward earnings would be sufficient to reach 10,000 if that breadth is confirmed. The near-term risk: SpaceX is reportedly targeting a June YPO at over 1.75 trillion US dollars, which would be the largest equity listing in US history. LS Securities warned this could function as a liquidity drain, pulling capital from every global pool simultaneously, including Korea. Now Wall Street's view. CNBC reported on May 25th that offshore asset managers are issuing cycle warnings. BlueBay, asset management's William DeGale, said the memory industry tends to have enormous ups and downs, and that every time someone argues the memory cycle is gone, the cycle ultimately turns sharply. JM Finn's John Cunliffe added that if AI demand grows at a normal pace over the next 3 years, production could increase meaningfully, easing the supply constraints that underpin current valuations. Standard Chartered's global CIO has been advising clients to take profits on Korean equities and diversify globally. The domestic counterargument from Nomura: commodity memory and HBM are in a supercycle that will drive KOSPI earnings through 2027. Both Samsung and SK Hynix are up more than 100% year-to-date. The offshore minority view is not yet priced in, which is precisely the risk. On currency, the won closed at 1,504 per dollar, the 7th consecutive session above 1,501. The BIS real effective exchange rate for the won stood at 85.06 in April. Base year 2020 equals 100. That is the lowest since the global financial crisis in 2009. Korea's Q1 current account surplus was a record $85 billion. Yet the won is at a 17-year real low. The explanation: Korea's financial account. Net outflow in Q1 was $65 billion, nearly matching the surplus. Korean institutions, pension funds, and retail investors are all cycling earnings straight back into overseas assets. Exporters are holding dollar revenues rather than converting. And foreign investors are absent from the Korean bond market entirely. The fundamental driver is structural. Korea's potential growth rate has fallen below the United States since 2023. As one economist put it, Korea's expected asset return is now lower than the US, so dollars keep flowing out. For unhedged Korea equity positions, the currency has already absorbed a significant portion of local currency gains in dollar terms. 3 things to watch. June 9th. Korea's IEA Strategic Reserve release deadline. Post-release, any geopolitical escalation in the Middle East has less cushion. Mid-June, Q2 earnings season. The non-semiconductor 45% profit growth thesis is the key test for the 10,000 scenario. And the SpaceX IPO timeline, the single clearest near-term global equity flow risk for any Korea allocation. That's today's AI PRISM Global Investors. This episode was produced with AI assistance based on Seoul Economic Daily reporting and reviewed by a human editor. AI PRISM is a Juan Ifra award-winning series. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to AI PRISM from Seoul Economic Daily.